Hi everyone, so I'm going to be talking about this other UML-based, a class-based diagram, and we're just going to talk here about differences between the students and the professor, and they're under the classification of a person. So if we take a look at this, and we see what common characteristics do people have, we can say they can both have a name, and it's a string. And what else could they have? Maybe there's an ID number associated with it, and it can contain some letters and numbers, so we can make it a string. Next, we can also take a look at maybe both of them have a job. Well, professor would have a job unless they're retired, or maybe a student has a part-time job, so we could put that as Boolean, so true or false. And maybe some kind of action that they can both perform, so that would be learn. They both go through learning phases because professor always continues to learn, students continue to learn. And then there is present, because students still do presentations, but so do professors. And then there is maybe they can, well, they both for sure, they start that is a duplicate. Let me just double check here. So for this one, we could put learn. So maybe they go through a process of, I'll say, maybe it's not so much learning and presenting, maybe it's information gathering. Or we could just say actually research. Because in order to learn or like present something, you still need to go through research processes that professors and students still have to go through. So if we take a look at what the main differences are, let's say student here, well, okay, this is where it can be a little bit tricky, but I'm not going to like be this nitpicky. It's more about how you laid out all this information here. So as long as it's laid out, it's fine. And I'm not going to get into inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, and all that stuff. So students, they can transit. Do they transit? I know that professors can as well, but we'll just do this, it's fine. Transits, we'll just say it's Boolean, true or false. And let me just double check here. Okay, we will, then the next thing, maybe like, well, actually, if they're studying, they have some kind of major that they're working towards. And I'll make that camel case, major, and that could be a string. And in some universities, there is a minor as well. So maybe they have some kind of minor they're studying on the side. This could be a string. And then some kind of action that they perform. So let's say they could take tests, and then the brackets right there. What else do they do? Maybe they take quizzes, and then does assignments or something like that. So essentially it's just performing some kind of action that is in contrast to professors. I mean, professors are still in the process of learning as well. They may take like courses on the side where they're still taking tests and quizzes and doing assignments, but I'm just showing you kind of like a general idea as to how to set this up. That's the most important thing, so I'm not going to be this nitpicky about like exactly what it's all about. But professor, if we look at that side, we could say, are they part of faculty? Because maybe they moved on to a different job now and they're not part of it anymore. So let's do faculty, and we'll say Boolean, true or false. And you can see the first letter of the data type is always capitalized. And we'll say, do they own an office? We'll say Boolean, so true or false. Do they own their own office at school campus? And maybe department. So what department are they actually teaching? we'll make it a string. And professor, what else does, so an action that a professor does, we could say, instead of taking the test, we could say that they write tests, right? Then maybe they grade papers, because they're grading the papers that the students hand in. And here we could say writes assignments or prepares assignments, something like that. We'll just say writes, prepares. So prepares assignments. So it's performing some kind of action, and the professors are getting whatever that action is ready for the students, so they could take the tests, take the quizzes, and do the assignments. So this is kind of like a general idea as to what the this class-based diagram is. As you can see in the child class, there's the student and then the professor, then there's the parent, which is in general is just a person, and you just can categorize everything like this. Of course, just don't worry about it if like you don't worry about it and don't think too hard, like, you know, if both if you're struggling to fill out 3 here at the top for instance variables and 3 methods at the bottom, I'm not gonna deduct marks if it's like duplicated for both things, but it should somewhat make sense, right? And as long as it's formatted properly with whatever instance variable, the 2 colons afterwards, and then the string or whatever data type it is after, and is formatted properly with the first letter capitalized,